and name it something. Name it something that you can find in a place where you can find. So I named it Bootstrap Demo, and I'm just going to open it within. Open it up within VS Code, which is my code editor. All right. Cool. Now for everyone who's new, I would suggest you download VS Code. It's a really great code editor, and it has a lot of helpful extensions. And I'm gonna have to reinstall some extensions because I'm using my work computer today, and I don't have the same extensions that I have on my work computer. So I'm gonna install HTML snippets, HTML CSS support. I'm also going to install HTML boilerplate and live server. So again, Ryan, maybe if you're in this, hopefully, yeah, Ryan, can you do me a favor and write a list of this inside the chat, if you could? So I'm installing, again, HTML snippets, HTML CSS support, HTML boilerplate, and live server. And if you have been participating in the last couple classes, we should already have these installed, and this shouldn't be a problem. All right. So now we have a blank project set up in our VS Code.
Recording in progress.
And what's our first step on basically creating a new HTML project? Does anybody know? Very good, Mario. You're close. We need to create an index.html file. Yeah, cool. So we have an index.html file. Index states that this is the root of our project, and it will be the first page loaded. Now, if we installed our HTML boilerplate extension, all we need to do now is type in HTML, come down to this boilerplate option, click on boilerplate, and now we have brand spanking new HTML code. All right. I will go over real quickly for the newcomers what some of this stuff means. I'm just going to try to make it fast because we do have a lot to cover today. So in our document, we want the browser reading this to understand what type of file they just received. So we say doc type HTML, then we do an opening and a closing HTML file. I'm going to make this slightly bigger. Is that good for everybody? I'll take silence as yes. So we have an opening and a closing HTML file, and that states that everything within this HTML tag is HTML, which is pretty straightforward, right? Then we have a head tag. So we have an opening and closing of a head tag, and everything within this head tag is considered metadata for the browser. So we can have the title for the web page, which we will say is, whatever the title is. I'm gonna put my name. We have some descriptions, which if we go on Google and we look up, I'll show you what this means real quickly. Let's say Sony headphones, right? So we can see that this here is our title, and this here is our description. This gives the browser and Google context to what our web page is all about. All right. Next, we don't really need to know about any of this stuff in depth. What's really important would be this link tag. This link tag is a reference to an external file that we can use depending on the attribute set here in Realm. So usually we would have a CSS file that's within our folder, and we can access that. So if we create a styles.css, I can then access styles.css. This comes really handy when you're trying to build great big websites and you don't want all the files to be, you want to have some organization within your file structure. So that's the close of our head tag. Now, everything visually that we see will be contained within the body tag, all right? So we have a couple different tag types. I'm going to go over them really quickly. We have divs for divisions. We have headings, which are larger text, and those are denoted by H1 to H5. We have P tags for paragraphs. And we have A tags for links. All right, I can't really think of anything else off the top of my head right now. I feel like those are the basic tags that we'll probably need today. And now we can start importing our Bootstrap. That's the way I'm gonna take it. Does anybody know how to let's say install or import Bootstrap into our project? Okay, so we're gonna look up. I'm gonna use Bootstrap 4. I'm gonna put this inside the chat. It should be within. I'm gonna place it within our resources as well. This is the documentation for the the syntax that we'll be using today. All right. So it says build fast, responsive sites with Bootstrap. Quickly design and customize responsive mobile first sites. So what this really gives us is the ability to have one code base and be able to reach multiple users depending on screen size. All right. So we're gonna click on I'm gonna put this inside the chat so nobody gets lost. I want to use version 4.6 only because it's not the newest version. Sometimes the newest version has minor bugs associated with it. So I'm just going to put this inside the Discord and the chat as well. And this is the introduction page. I can't find my chat, but you can just click on getting started if you really need to, all right? That's fine as well. So we're gonna click on get started, and we're gonna be brought to this introduction page, right? And this has a couple of resources for us to use. Like I said earlier on in the lecture, we have the ability to access pre-written code via these tags right here. So this link tag and the script tag, right? And Bootstrap has pre-written CSS and JS JavaScript files associated with it. So all we're gonna do is we're gonna come down to CSS. We're gonna press this copy button, and we're going to go back to our code editor and place the CSS above our local CSS. And the reason that we do this is because CSS is written read from top to bottom. So the last styles that are requested or that are presented to the object will be displayed. So we're going to use the Bootstrap styles as a baseline, and we're going to use our own styles to customize the Bootstrap styles. If that makes sense, everybody. All right. Next, I'm going to go down to here, including every, sorry, I'm kind of far away from my screen, including every Bootstrap JavaScript plugin and dependency with one of our two bundles, both blah, 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 blah. So I'm just going to take this bundle right here. I'm going to copy it. I'm going to come back to my text editor or my code editor. I'm going to replace this script tag with the one that I got from Bootstrap because I don't have any JavaScript involved in this project as of right now. Now, does anybody know why we put our JavaScript all the way in the bottom? Okay, that's fine. JavaScript, I mean, all files, take time to read. CSS is a lot lighter than JavaScript. JavaScript can be really dense. There can be a lot of files connected to a JavaScript bundle. So we don't want to stop the loading of our page. Yeah. Page is read top to bottom. Yep, 100%. So we don't want to stop the reading of our page depending on a JavaScript file that can be really lengthy. So we want our whole page to load and then our JavaScript to load. All right. So now I have added some resources to our resource tab, and one of the best, most useful components, I'm going to call it that, component within or class within Bootstrap is their column system. We've been using Flexbox in the past weeks, and then last week we started using the Bootstrap column system or Flex system. Now, the way that Bootstrap renders these columns is it needs to be placed, we need to create a div first of all right? So I'm going to create a div with the class of container. When a class of container is given to a div, it's telling the div within the object inside that to be a flex, to accept the flex components, right? So every time we want a flex container, we need to give it a class of container, all right? Within that container, I'm going to create a row. Now, row is, horizontal and a column is vertical, right? So we have to think about our rows taking up, the width of our screen. And that's why this resource is actually really nice. So each one of these is a row, right? And each row has 12 columns associated with it. All right. Now we can give our columns a predetermined space, like we see right here, column -4. What that's saying is that this column is going to take up 4 spaces within the row. All right. So if we notice, we scroll down a little bit, we have some of these extra parameters within our class. All right. So we see we have column small 4, column medium 4, column large 4, and column extra large 4. So what this is stating is that any size above this small, medium, or large, or extra large size, it will take up 4 column spaces, 4 columns within the 12 columns, so 4 out of 12. And we can see the resizing. I'm going to just play with my browser for a bit. You can still see this, right, guys? And we see as I come out of the extra large, these take up whole widths, 12 columns. All right. So as I come out of the large now take up full 4 widths, a full width, 12 out of 12. And as I come out of the medium, sorry about that. As I come out of the medium take up full width. So on and so on. We notice that the column that's set directly to 4, though, never stops being 4 out of 12 widths. So that's a really important thing to understand when designing mobile first websites, is that we want to create code that looks good on large scale and also small scale platforms. All right. Does everybody understand what I just said? I know it's a lot of information and I kind of went fast. But I just want to make sure everybody gets this flex container property. It's really important. If you don't learn anything else from Bootstrap, this is the one thing to learn. It makes designing super easy and super helpful. Does everybody get that? Cool. So, what about we try it out? That's probably the best way to do it. If sorry, I didn't bring any water with me. If we look within our resources, I have supplied this HTML file. I'm just going to copy it and paste it within my file directory and then open it up real quick. I'm gonna have to reboot. So I'm just going to create a new HTML file and call it second. You don't have to do any of this. We're just going to read through my code real quick. And I think I need to decrease the size maybe. I'm going to try to reboot my code editor. I think I need to, if I'm going to use live server. Okay. So I'm going to go live and we'll open up the file that I created. So it's like this really simple blog, like New York Times type looking website. We got a couple things going on here. These are kind of broken into sections. You know, we got this top nav section. We have this main page section, and then we have like these little blog posts. I'm sorry for this really hideous drop shadow. I did it really late last night, and I didn't really have much time to do it. But it's a good example of a templating website that you probably will build in the future, right? All right. So we have a couple things here. We have a container, right? Container contains this whole entire nav section. So we have a header, which is just a row with a column that is full width and with an H5 that states New York Times. Obviously, we can change this to, you know, whatever we want. Washington Post. Doesn't matter. And then we have a nav below that with some A tags going to different pages, right? That's all contained within this one section right here. Okay. Next, we have a carousel slide container. I'm using the same image over and over again, so you can't see the slide. But basically, this is just a carousel from Bootstrap, and we use different divs and images to scroll through. Real simple. Finally, we have a container with a row inside of it, and then 2 columns that take up 5 column spaces each. All right, and then we have another div with a card body contained inside each one of those containers. So if we go back to this, if it goes underneath the small, it will stack. And you know what? I don't really like that. I'll make it medium instead. Not that it matters. But now whenever we're medium, it will take up anything smaller than medium, it will take up full width. If it's not, it's going to take up 5 column spaces out of 12. All right, so we're going to build this out today. That was about 30 minutes. So we have about 30 minutes to do this. So we're going to go kind of fast. So if you have any questions, feel free to stop me and ask me. I'm going to try to plow through this. I only have 30 minutes left on my lunch break. I'm sorry, I'm at work today. I have meetings, like I said before. Right off the bat, we have a div. This is our first HTML file that we created in the beginning. We have a div with the class of container. And if we remember what that means is that we're going to place a flex container with inside of this container class, all right? I'm going to take away this div here, and I'm going to create a header tag and give this a class of py3. Does anybody remember what py means, or p styling means for Bootstrap? It refers to padding. Padding is the inside space within a div. All right. Margin is the external space for a div. All right. So inside this header, I'm going to create a div with the class of column, and I'm going to say 12. I'm pretty sure we can say column straight up, but this refers to my column taking up 12 spaces within that 12 of the row. So remember, a row has 12 column spaces. I'm saying I want all of that to be taken up by this one column, all right? I'm gonna put an H5 into there. Sorry about that. H5. H5. And I'm gonna put I'm gonna put my names because I'm not creative at all and I can't think of anything specifically right now. All right, so we're gonna open this up in live server. I think I already have it open. I'm just going to close it and reopen it just in case. Okay, awesome. So now I have my name. It's not really in where I want it to be, but we can open up. So I'm gonna show you how to do that one more time. We're gonna right click and we're gonna click inspect element. You know, we can see everything that's going on here. I'm gonna go into my body. I'm gonna go into my div. I see a div of class container, a header of padding 3, and a div that's the column of 12, which is taking up the whole entire space. Cool, awesome. Now I want my H5 to be centered within my div, my column. So I can give it a utility class of text center, right? And boom, it's right in the middle, right? If we're wondering where all of these utility classes are, it's within the documentation, underneath the utilities, and it should be underneath position. So, or maybe even text. Yep, text center. Okay. Remember, when using Bootstrap, refer to the documentation as much as you can. It's there for you. It's going to make your life a whole lot easier. And there are already code examples that you can just borrow and just edit. You know, that's going to really save a lot of time when you're building out multiple projects for your portfolio. Cool. So now we have this nice little header, and I want to place a row beneath it. All right, to have my nav links. So I'm gonna make a tag with the class of nav, and I'm gonna make a nav tag, sorry, and give it a class of nav dflex, which stands for display flex. And then I'm going to place some A tags within my class. All right. I'm just going to say home. And I'm going to give this I'm going to keep this for this like this right now. So I'm going to say home, and I'm going to copy and paste this a couple times and say shop. Contact. And blog. Yeah. So we'll see what we have. Cool. We have some really pushed together text, and we can see what's going on. We're gonna go back into our inspect. Remember, this is your greatest tool. One of your greatest tools when you're writing front-end code is you're gonna want to right-click, inspect, or inspect element of some browsers. We're gonna go into our body. We're gonna go look for our div. We're gonna find our nav, and we're gonna see that our nav is all compressed. All right. So I'm pretty sure I can fix this with since my navs looks like it stretches out the whole entire width of our screen. I'm pretty sure I can fix this with another utility class. And if anybody remembers Flexbox, It's the same exact. We can justify our content. We can justify content between. And this is a direct copy of our basically CSS that we've used in the past. So we're just justifying the content within this nav to be space between, right? We want space between our content. So now we have everything spaced between beautifully. And then we're going to add some more utility classes to our A tags to make them a little bit prettier. We can also do it in regular CSS, but I feel like it's a little bit faster if we just do it like this. So I'm going to add a class of P-2, which stands for padding 2, which the space inside will be 2 larger, and 2 is a measurement that's given 1 through, I think it's 1 through 5 actually, is given from Bootstrap. These are not set sizes. And then we're also going to give it a text muted class. Cool. So I'm just going to take this, I'm going to copy and paste it onto all my classes. And we'll see what we have. Oh, sorry. Cool. Now I have these pretty okay looking nav links. Although in my other copy, I had a nice little line that would that was underneath or above these links. Does anyone have a clue how we can add that line? We don't have to do it in. We can do it with HTML. We can do it with CSS. We don't have to do it with Bootstrap necessarily. So I'm going to do it with CSS. I'm going to add an ID to my header. And I'm going to say the ID is, I don't know, header. That's a really bad name, but whatever. And then I'm going to go into my styles.css, because remember, we added it to our style sheet. And I'm going to say header. All right. And I can say border bottom. And I can make it 1 pixel gray solid. Cool. I have this really nice little line that's just to give me some space from this top line to these nav components. Real classy, you know. So next, we're gonna want to create a section for our images, or really our stories, or headlines, our jumbotrons. Does anybody know, what class we should give our next our next tag? Or first of all, let's say what tag we're going to use for our next section within our code or HTML. Awesome. Another div. Yeah, I'm going to give this a class of container. Because I want to continue to use these flex containers, right? I'm not going to build this slider component. The code for it is within the Bootstrap documentation. So if you go to carousel, all the code is right here. You can copy and paste that if you want. It's pretty self-explanatory. It moves through multiple slides, which are right here. But I don't want to do that. I want to explore maybe more of this card component, which are really nice little blurbs, kind of, and we can use our flex containers with this. All right, so knowing that I want to create a flex container, or I already create a flex container, I want to create another div within that, right? And what do I want to give that div? What's that class of that div going to be? Like normally when I'm using a container, I would put something inside of it that has 12 columns. A row. So let's think about it like this. I'm just gonna open up a text file real quick. Nope. Plus. So let's think about containers. And then row. Columns. And then we can have multiple columns, right? Within, we can have up to 12 columns within this one row right here, right? So we're going to create a row, and we're going to put a column within that row, and we're going to give that column a medium size of 4. Okay, so that means any screen that is above medium, the columns will take up 4 spaces each. All right, there's only one column in there right now, but we're going to duplicate them in the future. So I want to put a class, I want to put a card within this inside this column, right? So I'm going to give a class of card and create a column, and then I can say a class of card dash body, and I can say I'm going to put a p tag and say hello class. We also can put an H5 and say featured text. All right. Let's see how that looks so far. And maybe we have to tweak it. That looks pretty okay so far. Yeah, I'm gonna duplicate this a bunch of times and we'll see what happens, all right? So what I'm gonna do is I'm going to find the beginning of the column and the end of the column. I'm gonna highlight it, and I'm going to copy and paste it 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Yeah, it should be 2, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. I'm gonna delete 1. I think I did 7. Okay. So now I have 6 uniform cards within my my browser, right? And if I want to resize them past medium size, they turn into full length cards. But they kind of look kind of janky in my opinion. How would I put some space maybe between this section and this section, and between each card? Does everyone have a clue? It's two different commands we have to put. I mean, they're both the same command, but they're going two different places. So I want to put a little space between this card and this section here. And I want to put some space between this card and this card. Does anyone have a clue? A break tag? That's a very good idea. We could do that. But also we can just come find this container and we can give it MT5, which means margin top 5. See, and now we have a little more space between each container, right? Between the container and this this navigation, all right? Next, I want to put some space between each card so I can find each column, right? And I can say M1. And then I'll just copy this and paste it onto every column. And it'll give me a margin 1 around every single column. So it leaves us with this, I might need to change that to padding. Yeah. So I'm gonna try padding instead, because I think once we add that space, we're taking up some of the row space, which will force it to reshift all of the cards. Perfect. So now I have this nice padding between each card. And the real important thing that we learned here today is you have to play around with your HTML and CSS. If you expect to get it right the first time, it's not going to happen. You just got to a little bit trial and error. So now we got this really nice card section. We can add buttons to that as well. You know, we can just go into this card body and we can add a button with a class of primary. Say, click me. Did I spell primary wrong? Primary. Huh. Maybe it needs to be an A tag. We can find out real quick what's it all about. Buttons. Oh, so we need to give it a type of class. So with our buttons, they have all these accessory classes that go along with it, and that's why reading documentation is super important. So I'm just gonna walk back a little bit, and I'm gonna give this a class of primary. So buttons require a BNT class with a BNT-primary, which states the color of the button. So we go back to our HTML. We now have this nice blue button that we can use. All right. We're kind of running out of time. I have to get done with my lunch hour at 1 o'clock. And this is kind of all the time that I have to really give you. I don't want to start a new component just because we might not get through it. So I kind of want to open up the floor to questions about tags, about coding, really anything before I have to leave. Also, we have a representative today. Well, we always have a representative today. Ms. Perry Stella O'Toole. I'm probably not pronouncing that correctly. She will be speaking to you guys from 1 o'clock to maybe a little bit later on just kind of the resources that we have provided at the college. These are really key one of the main purposes you come to college is one for its resources and two for networking. And this is what this club's all about: is networking. It's a resource for learning and it's a resource for finding jobs in the future. Now, if you have any questions with the remaining 8 minutes, I will open up for anybody to ask. Also, like we have said in the beginning of this class, we have a great Discord. If you have any questions, you also feel free to ask me through a private DM or through the general text channel. It's always open and I answer pretty quickly most times. I usually have my phone on me. So does anyone have any questions about, the documentation? Also, there's some more resources that I pasted in the resource tab. I created, there's this nav bar resource, which basically has a bunch of different nav bars that you can use. And these are all really cool examples. All you need to do is go into the inspect element section, find a nav bar that you like this one, and I'm going to say edit as HTML. And now I can just copy all this HTML and take it for my own. Now, Bootstrap has a bunch of these. Open this up a little bigger. I think it's underneath examples. Themes. Oh, examples. Sorry, right there. Examples. So we have all these examples that you can come and look for. I use this one as a guide for today's lesson. But they have a bunch of different components that you can use: carousel, blog, dashboard. Also, what's really important is that you can, if you're trying to become a freelance developer, here's a great place where you can purchase themes, and then you can, edit them using Bootstrap and CSS, and then resell them to your clients. So like $49 for administration, admin, and desk and dashboard template. Open a live preview. Something like this. Easily you can charge. Look at this. This is pretty nice. You can charge into multiple of thousands of dollars for a website this nice, and all you would be doing is maybe changing some colors, changing some functionality maybe, and it's a really great resource for you to use. All these Bootstrap themes are built for that purpose, for Bootstrap developers to be more productive with their time. This is a beautiful one. This kind of looks like the old Airbnb website, but these are super nice, and these are all written in Bootstrap. And if you need any help with understanding the code, obviously you have me, but at the same time, you have the Bootstrap documentation, which we've been reading from all day. I'm just gonna open it up one more time. Cool. And there's a bunch of different packages. What's really important here is not that you learn Bootstrap maybe itself, but we understand the principle behind Bootstrap. There are a bunch of different packages like this. We got Tailwind, which is another type of package for rapidly prototyping websites. We have Material UI, which is Google's package for creating, it creates really great components, and all you need to do now from that point is really just style them with some CSS. These are really important things to learn if you're trying to prototype out different products for maybe your boss or for your potential clients. You know, you don't want to hand code these things. You could, but there's no purpose to do it really. That you're not going to get any extra applause by writing this all by hand. You might as well take advantage of these really beautiful libraries. Right now, I'm using one for. Sorry about that. I'm using one called Material Angular.io. It basically looks like an Android application. And this is really great for when we're trying to build mobile sites that replicate applications. Does anybody have any questions? I have like 2 more minutes left in this class. I would really hate for anybody to be confused or maybe have any questions about anything, finding jobs, really anything. I'm really open for the next 2 minutes. I know it doesn't sound like a lot of time, but if someone asks me a question, I could probably stay for a little bit longer. Sorry that I don't have enough. I don't have the same amount of time that I would give you on a regular week. I just have been crunched ever since my application has gone to beta. So if there's no more questions,